Because at the end of the day, real estate is all cyclical, right? Just like the economy on a macro level, looking at global industries and business type of flows, it all runs in a cycle. All right, guys, no matter what side of the equation inside of the real estate space you might find yourself landing, now obviously most of you inside of this network are real estate wholesalers, but wholesaling is not the end-all be-all strategy for real estate investors. In fact, I believe it's the point of entry. In order to see a deal from beginning to end, to see the entire process facilitated from pulling data, marketing to sellers, getting contracts, sending it through, lining up a cash buyer, and pushing that through to the closing table with the attorneys, paralegals, communication on that side, the knowledge and application that you learn inside of that experience is second to none. It literally shows you the entire deal process on a practical side from start to finish. Now, as you start to build up more opportunities, more closings inside of your wholesaling business, there's going to be a time that arises where the time is right to start keeping a rental or two as you're stacking up your equity as you go. So with this, I wanted to touch real quick on the thought process with understanding market cycles. Because at the end of the day, real estate is all cyclical, right? Just like the economy on a macro level, looking at global industries and business type of flows, it all runs in a cycle, right? So I have pulled up on my screen different phases in economic growth, right? Now, phase one, which we call the recovery phase, would be after a downturn, right? So like post 2008, whole market tanked, blood on the streets, that was a recession, right? Once we pulled ourselves out of that recession and were able to see positive trends in the economic factor, we started to see a recovery phase, right? Where the assets that were at a low point start to gain a little bit more value, more money starts coming into the industry, lenders might start loosening up a little bit and lending out more money, right? So that would be phase one in a market cycle. We'll go ahead and just draw it on here as well, right? So phase one is the recovery. After this phase, you start hitting this peak. This is the expansion phase. Now, if you look at graphs and trends, we've been in an expansion phase for more than 10 years, which is actually one of the longest bull market cycles in history, right? So for every action, there's an equal or greater reaction, right? So all positive growth, there's going to be different factors that are pulling against that, balancing that weight, right? Eventually you hit the top of the market. So right here, obviously we're in a seller's market, right? Seller's market in phase one, seller's market in phase two. Now looking at the current state of the economy in this post-COVID era, all this government relief funding, stimulus checks, PPP, EIDL loans, tons of US dollars just printed in circulation, right? Which has caused this massive expansion phase. You got these hedge fund buyers that we'll touch on in some future modules that are flooding the market, cornering the real estate industry and paying way more for houses than I've ever seen industry professionals pay, right? So we're on a major upward trend in current January of 2022, right? And it's just been picking up. But eventually, right, the Fed just announced a rate increase, right? So interest rates start going up. Quantitative easing is a term they use for when they start hiking the interest rates, right? Now, obviously, when the lenders who have all the money supply, right, these are US dollars, when they start to increase the rates, right, the market reacts to that, right, and it kind of dips. There's not as much expansion in the market. So we could go on for days with this, and I'm not by any means an economist. I'm not a professional trend analysis reader or any of the such, but as a real estate investor, I pay attention to these market trends. And again, we're in this expansion type of market where it's just been pumping and pumping and pumping, that eventually there's going to be some type of a turn. Now, real estate inventory is at an all-time low, right? Record low inventory. We've never seen this low amount of houses available to purchase ever in the United States real estate market, right? So that shows us that there's still a very, very high demand for houses, and I don't see it slowing down. But it is important to know where you stand in this cycle, right? Brings us into hypersupply. Hypersupply is where the rates increase, less people are able to borrow money, and as a result, the supply of houses starts to go up, starts to increase, right? And that hypersupply flips the market into a buyer's market, because guess what? There's more buyers than there is sellers. There's more houses or more inventory, more supply listed on the market than there is qualified buyers to meet the interest rates, right? So that's the shift that shifts a market into a buyer's market. And again, we've been in a seller's market for 8 to 10 years, right? It's been an upward trend. And I don't see it slowing down, which is really unheard of. But it is good to be aware of different markets and different trends inside of the big macro picture, right? So does a lot of this stuff have a big impact with us as wholesalers? In a sense it does, right? Because buyers and sellers, right? If it's a buyer's market, the person that's got the money makes the call, right? We all know in this current market cycle, 2022, whoever has the inventory, whoever has the deal, knows that they're going to be able to open up a bidding war with a frenzy of buyers for whatever type of product they have, as long as it's priced correctly, right? So I say this to say, guys, important just to really lean in, and as you develop your craft, hone in your skills, and even start acquiring some rentals in the process, good to pay attention to where you're at in the current state of the market and knowing what level you currently sit at, because the person that understands this is the one that holds the cards, right? So always pay attention to the global market, right? Because it's going to affect the entire whole. And the more that you can position yourself, right? One, not to be over leveraged when you're at the top of the market, right? You don't want to pay more for a house or an asset, and then when this whole cycle shifts, you're on the upside of down and you can't float your mortgage. But most of this is some higher level stuff, guys. Just wanted to dive in and really talk about the market cycle and understanding the much larger global trend that comes along with this. I'll see you guys on the other side.